I've been tossed overboard.
I'll have to bill you extra for my time.
Welcome to the show. You look incredible, like a dessert that owns a yacht.
That's exactly the vibe I was going for. You know, sweet but slightly out of your tax bracket.
Mission accomplished. How does one even shop for...
Gold on my neck, gold on my hand, purple with the stripes, that's the walk of a man. Sidewalk shining, city lights humming, every step I take, they know a boss is coming.
Is that a poppy seed? You realize I'm your PO, right? Straight to booking!
I'm calling from Los Angeles, and I'm having a little problem. Under the name ThATuMBRELLAgUY, I sent him my phone number at least 20 times in the chat and told him to call me. He ignored me. I'm a man. I filed the report. If you guys could take a look at it and give me a call back, I would love to hear what you guys can do to help us. We really need to kind of stop this guy at least until Monday. I told him to call me. I'm a man.
You know what? I talk to your man.
Yeah, it's TUG, that umbrella guy. You picked the wrong storm. 2 times on the docket, used to lane learn. You kept running to the court, I just let it burn. You was barking on the phone, all that tough talk threatened. Now you looking at the floor like judge, I'm just stressing. You swing wild, I parry that, turn it to a meme. You gamble with your rep, I'm cashing out on the stream. You said you'd end me, now you trim me. You a car crash clip, I rewind it in 4K HD. You hate the channel cause the truth don't bend. You ain't a rival, you a cautionary tale I pen. You said you wrecked me, but I wrecked you worse. You tried to cancel, now you stuck replaying this verse. 2 times ain't enough for you. Keep suing cause you're scared of the truth. That umbrella guy gon' shine right through. You call it war, I call it views. She crazy, 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 crazy. Yeah, that's old news. Crazy, crazy, yeah, that's old news. 2 times ain't enough for you. Yeah. You was yelling at the screen, veins popping in your neck, talking big, talking bold, but your story don't connect. You a late night rant, I'm a documented fact. You a tantrum in a tweet, I'm receipts in the stack. You said I'll ruin you, I said bet cool. Now the judge looking sideways, who really the fool? You keep threatening in the dark, I just flipped the switch. You a star of your own breakdown, welcome to the glitch. Mic drop, every time that I quote show lies. You keep spinning, I keep winning, watch the view count rise. You call me villain, but I'm still chilling. You the one scribbling in threads like that's some kind of living. 2 times ain't enough for you. Keep suing cause you scared of the truth. That umbrella guy gon' shine right through. You call it war, I call it views. She crazy, 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 crazy. Yeah, that's old news. Crazy, 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 crazy. Yeah, that's old news. 2 times ain't enough for you. 2 times ain't enough for you. 2 times ain't enough for you. You threatened my name, I turned it to fame. You play with the flame, got torched by the game. You keep coming back, same move, same rage. I just flipped that page, let the ad money rain. 2 times ain't enough.
What's up, folks? How's it going today? Man, welcome. After a little hiatus yesterday. Ugh, what a day. What a day. I still am probably not at 150% here, but I'm good enough. I did learn a few valuable lessons yesterday. I learned that tables, you versus a table usually wins. Tables, they don't taste good. I'm going to tell you a sad story about that too. I had just boxed up a bunch of leg warmers. And I had taken to wearing them around my head. And had I had put all those leg warmers around my head, maybe I'd have been better. No, I'm just if only I had more leg warmers, I would have been safe. No, I had a little screw up yesterday. As people know, I've had some medical problems. Part of this comes with very bad vertigo. I'm actually having it even now, like I have to watch how much I stare at the computer and things like that. It kind of makes it crazy. So I was walking through the kitchen yesterday, and lo and behold, well, here there's actually a nice little video that kind of breaks down how this happened. I figure showing you this would probably be much better than really kind of explaining it. So let's see. It's kind of like this here. There's me. There's the table. Smack! A little closer to the edge there. Yes, that's it. Notice the table does not flinch. Now, as part of that fun, I cracked one of my teeth, which you have to wait 3 days to fix. I cracked the crap out of it. I got a nice ER visit, and so afterwards, it's a bad Monday. Okay. Like, no joke. This happens there. I even got a receipt, if anybody wants a proof that because I was like, this is just insane. So I get back, and it's later. I'm feeling a little more balanced. And I'm like, all right, I need to do some clothes, That makes sense, right? Gotta be clean, gotta smell like not awful. So I go to the laundry room, and yet again, trip. Now, minor, not major there, but a trip up on the dryer, which you would think, couldn't cause any problems with it, right? So I got to use the dryer afterwards, and the stupid dryer won't dry. And I was like, It picked that day of all days to go out. So I had to go and get a new dryer because I got a quote on how much it would cost to fix. Yeah. Oh, so that was a good, I figure, tooth getting checked out, new dryer at $771. Ugh. I was like, man, that's an expensive day. But could be worse. Could have been happening on a Friday and not a Monday. But yes, apologies. Now, Megan had she's had some health stuff. I'll let her talk about it. It's not, I always feel weird about talking about other people's health things. You know what I mean? I always do, because I don't know what they want to talk about and what they don't want to talk about with their own stuff. So I'll leave it there. I know she's been under a lot of stress with her kids and everything that's been going on too. A lot of that, that will make you sick. That'll make you very sick. So she's kind of been exhausted, She's talked a lot about what's going on there. But, keep her in thoughts there. Like I said, I learned a valuable lesson. Maybe it was pad the table. I'm trying to be it did not, none of the kids were horrified by it. They didn't scare the bejesus out of them or nothing. Thank God it didn't happen in front of one of them. That would have been awful, but it has to be a day for me to take a day off. It was I never take days. I don't like taking days off. There's always crazy, and there was a lot of crazy that came up. In fact, if you look, the ecosystem last night, Had one heck of a little dealio. You know, I went to bed early too. After I'm checked out and everything, I'm like, I gotta sleep. You know, I need to. Now, luckily, somebody recorded that mess. We're getting the transcript. I'll have a transcript of it. We'll probably have it tomorrow. I was not motivated to go and dig up everything there, but I did notice some really interesting things that came up last night. Like the fact that the ecosystem turned on another one of their own. Now, the person they turned on last night was one of their mods for quite some time. And there was an auction on one of these channels over there, right? And during this auction, the people that were helping out, you know, for free, they weren't treated very kindly, let's say, according to them. One of them did not enjoy it and kind of noted that. And when they noted it, I think they came to a weird conclusion. Their pals over here weren't sticking up for them. You know, only certain people in that ecosystem group, that grift, they only matter. The rest of them, they find out real fast that they don't matter in the scheme of things. They will give each other. It's like this. If two people I know are fighting, I don't get in the middle of it. You know? I'm not going to get in the middle of your fights. I'm definitely not going to do a 2.5-hour stream about you. And I'm not going to spend hours dumping on you and, you know, making you public enemy number one. But that's kind of what happens in the ecosystem. And it happens all the time. That's why this lip stuff is so funny, because at the end of it, they're trying so hard to sell you the idea that they planned all of this insanity, but lips took the same shape as all these other people, including what happened last night. But last night, so anyway, this sale goes so poorly that this person, they complain in chats. They want people to stick up for them. You know, hey, come on, this is messed up, right? When that doesn't happen, they put up a post a few days back that said that essentially they were going to walk away, right? So a little bit of that has been building some momentum. People have been talking about it a little bit. They use, though, Hales as a reason to not just bring this up as a topic over the last couple of times, but they turned it into a massive topic last night. And it didn't go over that well. It went over with some people because, you know, they roll with the thing. Oh, this new person's the enemy, that new person's the enemy, whatever, you know. But some people didn't like that, you know, because you're talking about somebody that's been in their groups for a while, you know, one of their song makers. In fact, they had a problem back when, too. They've had a few problems with getting the finger, as it were. You know that Gator song that Paint Chips use? Yeah, they allegedly had that stolen from them, you know, things like that. And they felt disrespected for a while. Well, they got really disrespected last night. And that stream went over so well that it is now members only. It has been pulled from every other platform, too. It's amazing. I mean, good Lord. I was stunned by the fact that, again, they have this bad guy cycle, and it happens all the time over there. They eat their own. You have another one of their folks who still wants to stay in the inn, you can tell, but they were complaining about how they've been disrespected. Again, you notice I'm not using their names because I'm not driving in traffic. I don't consider these people. I don't like most of these people, but I'm not the one who pretends to be the friend. It's funny because you got to remember, if you track that channel all the way back, man, they liked Hales at one time too, until he was no longer valuable. Then suddenly they turned it on something else. This stuff has been nuts, though. Now, people have asked, hey, you're going to cover blah, blah, blah with Leslie. I'm trying to think of the nicest way to say this. She's boring me. The worst sin in the world is to be boring. And it's just so predictable. Everything that's coming from there, at least the fats are crazy in a like shitty, weird, almost hilarious way to me sometimes. You know, that shit show is funny to a degree. But my God, Leslie just bores me. You know, it'll be funny in a couple of weeks. Well, it'll probably take a couple of months, really, for this problem to what. But again, mark this. Leslie's aiming for monetization. Now, she's going to find out real quick that small-time videos and stuff like she does, they won't pay well. So she's going to start pushing for super chats. And when she starts pushing for super chats, that's going to cut in on Lisa's turf. And she and her, they're going to have problems with that because there's not going to be enough to go around. And that's when things will get really funny. But right now, it's just, have you noticed these people, they talk about the same thing every day. And it's fucking boring. Excuse my wording there, but it is. It's the same topic. There's nothing prepped. Like today I have a document prepped, you know, we need to finalize. There's another funny thing on the bankruptcy. There's going to be a couple of new things that come in. But with this, they never prep anything. There's never anything new. It's just the same regurgitated BS, you know? Oh, no, he's losing. We got him. He's a liar. I mean, God, man. After a while, I honestly... Now, they did manage yesterday. They have been heavily false flagging, especially on Facebook. And they managed to get a Facebook group taken down because they were talking about the crazy that messages that Lips had been sending. And again, the major failure in everything that they're bringing up. And they've said over the last few days, if they wanted to play the victim card, if they wanted to go that route, they shouldn't have come out and preemptively, see, they lost their cool about it. And they tried to do damage control first. And what they did is they said that they all colluded on this, including the lawyer husband that's involved. And the thing that they said that they colluded to do, sending somebody explicit items, sending them all. I mean, that's a big problem there. It's a big no-no, especially now that they're saying, hey, they've been filing police reports. That may cause them some real issues. You know, they have a lot of conflicting statements over the last few days. I am glad people keep up with it. For me, I had to have a couple of days away from it because it's crazy, but you wouldn't think crazy would be boring too. You wouldn't think those two could go together. But when somebody's that extremely off their rocker, it just after a while, you know, it's nonsensical to its degree. Maybe it reminds me too much of doing work before. I'm not sure. Now, there is something really, really big, really bombshelly big that is about to come up. It will hit Saturday. Okay. This will be a wonderful thing. And we've been kind of waiting for it. So, you know, that donor, that major donor for the bench, the one that they tried to do damage control on and everything because they gave all that money, then they treated them like garbage. Well, there will be an interview coming out with them. That's right. We will get to see that on Saturday. Saturday with D Spills the Tea. We will actually get to see that, and I think that will be fun. We'll actually get to hear from them. I think that's a big one there because they did everything that they could to silence the person. You know, they blocked them out. They've already gone through character assassination and more. Well, now the person, you know, typically that's where the ecosystem, you know, anybody who has a problem there, that's typically where they end because they've been told their place. And a lot of them, they stay in their lane. I'd be like, screw you. You know, I ain't staying in my lane. But this person, they were like, no, you know what? I'm going to ask for help on it. I'm going to get somebody to to actually talk about that. So D spills the tea. We'll be talking about that. And I think that will be impressive. I think that'll be a lot of fun to check out. So that'll be, like I said, that'll be a one heck of a bombshell, I think, to field. Now, let me see. I wrote a list for myself of things that I wanted to make sure I cover. Because in my memory, with all of this vertigo-y shit, it messes with my memory too. So I forget to bring up things sometimes. So let's see. Give me 1 minute. Oh yeah, man. When they what's crazy about the Facebook group that got removed too. So they flagged down this whole group. Well, they went and they talked about how they were going to do that. They talked about, in fact, it was really funny because before that, it's not funny they got flagged down, but it was funny because before that, we found out that a certain quote unquote man was not allowed to go on there. He had been forbade. You can't look at that anymore. Yes, dear. So manly. So manly. Y'all want to see something funny? By the way, this is somebody sent me this. I liked this. I took this portion of it. I like you'll send pictures, and God, some of them were just they're really funny. This one, Jack's mom sent over. I liked this portion of it. It's like, hey, look, where are all the birds coming from? I haven't been posting on Twitter lately. I love it. I love it. There were some other great pictures in there, but I thought that one was pretty funny. As a segue, counting the little birdies. To be honest, yesterday it was very weird. I have not just sat down and slept like I did, after everything. After I made sure that I wasn't gonna, I had no got to stay awake for blah 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 or anything. Check this out though. On the bankruptcy, you want to talk about some major glitching here, right? So as you know, over the last couple of days, well, I'll say starting right on the weekend, we had some interesting filings, right? We had some filings that essentially you had Lynette Preston's, I would say her bankruptcy lawyer, but he said that he had to be brought in to file more. So I'm not really sure what he's calling himself with this, but he filed for sanctions. And he wanted the stay, he wanted, you can't do anything, even though you kind of can, depending on what it is. But he was like, no, you can't do anything. So Randy responded to that as well. Well, if you look at the docket, interestingly enough, both of these things, they have some submission errors. Now, Randy's not a bankruptcy lawyer. All right. So when Randy makes a mistake in a bankruptcy thing, like this is a procedural error. I know muss, no fuss, right? What I really found interesting, though, is the bankruptcy, the guy who cost $6,000, that guy didn't file it, right? When you're out there charging me 3 times what someone typically gets charged, I expect you to be amazing. I'm not paying for Clark Kent. I'm paying for fucking Superman. You know what I mean? So when I get that Clark Kent level, I don't know. Clark Kent actually is pretty good at his job, but you get the point. I should be bulletproof, And apparently, just like with everything, look at all the mistakes that have been made repeatedly with everything. It's almost like every single move has some kind of mistake added to it. And when you get into the filings too, like I was talking about this weekend, it wasn't bad. It was awful. Now, what we'll do is I covered about 11 pages in the bankruptcy document. We got to about arguments. So I'll do a little refresher, but I want you to understand what they're responding to as well. Because again, I can't, every time I sit down, I've actually looked at this filing a few times just because I think filings like the one that they threw in, I think filings like that honestly should be the kind of things that you learn about in schools because they're pretty damn awful. I mean, here again, remember, Randy was responding, and we're gonna again, this is just a brief relay. He was responding to this document. This would be, by the way, if you have not read it, you should read this very much. You know, we reviewed it on Saturday, but this document is amazing. It's number 82. This is debtor, that would be LMNOP's emergency motion to enforce the automatic stay and for damages pursuant to 11 USC 362. Okay. Now, this is a terrible filing in my opinion. Why? Because it is devoid of almost anything. I've asked a few people to look this thing over, or at least look through sections of it. And when they looked at it, they're like, this is awful. This is an awful filing. It really does trigger that very cookie cutter, very bad, very basic. And the argument is easily challenged. And that's what Randy was going with. Randy was saying essentially that in his response, and again, we're going to pick up where we left off, but to, like I said, I'm not going to review the pages. Give me 1 minute because we were 11 pages in. So, but to give you an idea, again, as a brief summary on this of what it had talked about before. Give me 1 second. Let me have a drink. Man, one of the things with this too, I've drank so much water. I've never drank so much water in my life. I swear. I found some of those big core bottles. They were over at Kroger for a buck. You know, those giant 30-ounce bottles. They were there for $1. Plus, I had a coupon, so they're about 60 cents a piece. Like, all right. So when I got home yesterday, I had to start drinking on. So, I was thirsty the whole time. But I was looking at it, I was like, there were 4 empty ones there after sit down. I was like, man, that's 120 freaking ounces of water just right there. And I think I'm still thirsty. Coming with this, boy, I've never been so thirsty in my life. Some of it's the medication, but some of it's just whatever this is crazy. I never drink so much. Well, it's not bad to drink water, but Lord. I have to make sure I have water in the house all the time. So anyway, I will probably stop. You'll hear me drink a lot of water through this is my point. So the opposing argument to this is essentially saying that Lynette Preston, she had a case already in court before the bankruptcy. She brought that case, by the way. It wasn't a case where somebody's going in and trying to collect something from her. It's a case where she goes after another person, and that person, they have rights. You and I, we have rights when somebody comes in. And a bankruptcy, in that, bankruptcy law does not operate as a sword and a shield. She's not supposed to be able to go in and hack away at your rights and then hold up bankruptcy. Take this defensive stance and say you can't do anything at all. Remember the courts, they said that they had looked at all the laws surrounding this, and what they found was they could go in and they could talk about specific items. They're not in the way the filing by Saran Wrap sounds. It sounds like he's telling you they went in, they went out of their way. They were talking about everything within, the sanctions more. No, they were talking about entitlement. Whether or not you are entitled to sanctions, not an amount there, but whether or not he's actually, or they're actually, I shouldn't say he, because the way they make it sound, I love how they bring this up all the time. They're like Hales, 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 but really there are other people in that lawsuit too. You know, all of them, anybody that has spent would be entitled. The only person that did not get served in that was DJ Radis. And these people have been doing everything in their power to disrupt, cause problems. It's so bizarre. These people are so weird. But anyway, let me roll down to the argument portion. Again, you should check. This is document 84. Document 84. Again, it's an interesting argument. You know, we're going to get into the argument portion where it talks about law and more. And when we're going over this, I want you to remember something. I want you to compare the legal argument that you're presented in that with the legal argument that you were presented here. You know, again, if you look, you'll notice they'll quote some, they'll continue to just bring up basic case notes. There will be nothing. This is what LMNOP's lawyer. There's no real, there's a few citations, but there's nothing. What does it say? Oh, well, I mean, that's up to you to try to figure out, because they'll tell you what it means, but they won't actually cite. I mean, look at how lazy this is. Look at this. Here's the perfect example, and I want you to compare it to what we're going to read. Just listen to how this comes together. This is their portion 3. This is saying that post-petition sanction order is void because the state's court order granting defendant's motion for sanctions was entered in violation of automatic stage. It is void as recognized in. So they note cases, but they don't actually quote anything from it. They're just like actions taken in violation of automatic stays are void, even if there is no actual notice of the stay. Is that what it says? We sure we have any direct quotes? But no, we don't. Huh? And you see that's the whole point through almost all of this. The only quotes we get every now and then, we'll have the most basic bankruptcy law. You'll have something quoted, but they leave out quite a bit. Now, look at this argument that we're going to look at here, which is, well, it trails down into the subject, let's say. God, I can't believe that dude cost a fortune. And again, according to Tina, I forgot to bring this up before, so you may have heard me say this in the last few days, or you may not have heard me say this, but according to her, Lynette was complaining because not only was she doing all the work, but because this dude wanted more money. That's what Lynette kept continuously bringing up. Money, 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 more money. That's what the dude wanted. He got paid 3 times what he typically does. And he's like, nah, more money, more money. I would not be. So, argument number 1. The automatic stay. This is Randy's mom. And again, we're about halfway through, but we're getting to the argument portion. So the automatic stay does not apply to sanctions proceedings against a debtor who initiated litigation. Again, you bring the litigation. I have rights. See, the way that they tried to play this, and it was a big argument. This was something that I asked about from Go. I asked people behind the scenes because I was curious about this move. I was like, well, what about the person that they come after? What about their rights? Because you have rights too. You know, this person, again, I think Randy said it the best, that bankruptcy is not, it cannot be utilized as a sword and a shield. You cannot come in, try to ravage someone's life, and then be like, time out, sucker. You know, it just, I have some rights too. So the automatic stay provision of the Bankruptcy Code is designed to protect debtors from collection actions and to preserve the status quo from the debtor. Again, they know. However, this protection is not unlimited. Federal courts have consistently held that or that the action stay applies only to actions against the debtor, not to actions brought by the debtor. That is very important distinction there. That the automatic stay, you can freeze something, it's actions against, not brought by. This principle has been consistently, excuse me if I miss some words. Like I said, looking at the monitor too much, that vertigo does not like me. But we will get through it anyway. The principle has been consistently applied by Florida courts. For example, the Florida 2nd District Court of Appeal has explicitly held that, quote, the automatic stay provision of the Bankruptcy Code, 11 U.S.C. 362A, applies only to actions brought against a debtor in bankruptcy. I think that's a big notation there. So you have the Florida 2nd District Court of Appeal saying, hey, well, you know, that only applies to by actions brought against, again, against, that's the key word. B, consequences for filing a frivolous lawsuit are not subject to the automatic stay when the debtor initiated the underlying litigation. Indeed. There's another key word, frivolous. You notice the ecosystem, by the way, is doing anything they can right now not to talk about this kind of stuff. Why? Because you've just seen a frivolous lawsuit that they propped up for months fall by the wayside. Lynette Preston actually be held liable in that situation. It is an absolute disaster. And guess what they've said? Nothing. They're hoping that if enough people listen to the noise with lips, that they don't hear this. Because again, they're such amazing lawyers, right? They know so much about the law that they couldn't see this coming. They were telling people months ago, they were telling them that what Bruce was saying was right. Oh, you can just bring lawsuits against people willy-nilly, and there can never be a consequence for it unless you end up having a decision in the court, like the court come in and say, okay, well, the court did make a decision in this, but ignore that, right? Ignore that. It's so dumb. It's amazing. Again, there is a lot they want you paying attention to, but they definitely don't want you. Because if you start looking at the actual arguments that are being made with some of this, again, they're just hoping. How many times have they tried to put Jeremy Hales in jail? How many times have they accused him of something horrific while trying to set him up and destroy his business and his reputation? How many times has that happened? How many times have they told you, oh, he's going to prison now for X, Y, or Z? Like they really screwed that proverbial pooch. God, the admissions, but they won't talk about this stuff. So when a debtor initiates litigation as a plaintiff, as Preston did in this case, the automatic stay does not shield the debtor from the consequences of their litigation action. That is exactly why this is the funniest thing too, because from go, we knew this. We knew this either because of items that we talked about publicly, or there were certain things. See, there's certain things after I talk to lawyers and other folks, I don't bring up because I don't want them correcting certain actions that they do. I noticed early on that one of the things that some of these so-called legal minds would do if we would mention something is they would sometimes try to adjust. Now, what's really funny is there were a couple of times when we said something just to see if that would happen that did not benefit them. We put it out there as a hypothetical, and they did it. They actually changed up, which, yeah, you can go in a line that, but it's pretty funny. So we started noting certain items, but we started laughing at some of their stupid. And we tell them this isn't going to work. But as far as, I mean, this is case law, easy case law that could have gone and found that you can't take an automatic stay and use it as a shield because you brought something and now you're receiving consequences for said actions. I mean, you could find this with pretty easy search, even with, again, I'm going to say this carefully, the way I'm going to say it. You could do this. You could look it up with AI as long as you look into the results. You know, you can use AI. AI is a tool, but it is a tool. If you put your faith in 100%, you will look like a fool. So you can ask it stuff, but always drill down into what it's saying. But it could have pointed something like this out to you, and not setting up an argument that's cohesive like this, but you would have found a few of these points and been like, that's not good there. But here, now you notice right away, like I was saying, you don't have in Lynette paying all that money, you don't have points where, again, you notice you have citations and you have direct quotes. Huh. Isn't that weird? She doesn't have that. It'll just be like, as it says right here. But see, you have quote, as has been pointed out by defendants in their objection and response, the bankruptcy stay does not apply to this case. The automatic stay provided by 11 U.S.C. Section 362A enjoins the commencement or continuation of all litigation against a debtor based on petition claims. Another, in the present case, the action was not brought against this person as a debtor, but she filed the complaint against the defendant seeking damages. There is no automatic stay for said person as plaintiff in this action. Again, they're noting if you bring something, you're not entitled to an automatic stay. Again here, the 11th Circuit explained the automatic stay provision of the Bankruptcy Code, 11 U.S.C. 362, does not extend to lawsuits initiated by the debtor. And also, you can see all of these wonderful items here too. Automatic stay provision only applies to proceedings against the debtor. This means that because the underlying lawsuit was brought by Preston, it is clearly not an action against the debtor for the purposes of 11 U.S.C. 362, and Preston is not entitled to an automatic stay. In this case, Preston was the plaintiff in the state court action, not the defendant. She voluntarily initiated litigation against Hales and other defendants. The motion in the state court action arose directly from her litigation conduct in the case. Yes, indeed. What was her litigation conduct, by the way, when they bring that up? I mean, remember, when it's broken down, it wasn't just that she filed something. Remember, in this, as the judge noted, she did nothing as far as that case is concerned. She was told, she files it, the defendants in it, they serve her a 21-day safe harbor letter and an unfiled motion for sanctions. They're essentially like, hey, you proceed, you got 21 days, just drop this crap. You have people like Larry say that too. But the plaintiff, they didn't respond. They didn't withdraw. And they didn't turn over anything as far as discovery requests. They wouldn't do any of that. They wouldn't do that as far as motions to compel discovery. So you have the safe harbor period run out. And really on the eve, as the decision notes, this is paraphrasing what the judge says, going by the line items. On the eve of the hearing scheduled for the defendant's motion for summary judgment, plaintiff voluntarily dismisses the case. Plaintiff then doesn't show up for things. In fact, the hearing, if they wanted to make arguments about this very item, there was a hearing on December 17th to discuss whether or not you're going to have sanctions. If they wanted to argue something, that would have been the moment to do so. They were properly noticed, as the judge said, but they didn't appear. They didn't care to. In fact, the day before the hearing, Lynette Preston was like, I ain't coming. I don't have to, essentially. You know? And yeah, she does. It's her filing. It was a frivolous action. It cost people quite a bit of money. So again, when they talk about her litigation conduct, it's not just a frivolous filing. It's all of this other stuff that is stacked on top of it. I mean, it's just insane when you think about it. Now, contrast the above with the nearly bereft case law. Only 2 cases cited by the debtor to support her motion. That's right. Now, look at this. I love this here. You talk about a call out. And I'm glad this was something, this is one reason I wanted to go and drill down into this. I know I say that a lot, but I kind of like that statement. You know, when you look at a subject, surface level, you know, we can look at the surface argument, but what I really like is this kind of call out right here. It's like, hey, when you contrast the above, all of this stuff that's been said with the nearly bereft case law, there's only 2 cases that are cited by the debtor to quote unquote support her motion. The debtor cited Lewis v. in attempt to support her motion. To begin, the debtor's case site is wrong. Whoops. Whoopsie daisy. So when you're when you're going to go in and you're going to try to argue something, maybe get that right. Why is it wrong? Well, the 3rd district did not issue this opinion. The 6th district did. Oh, whoops. Oh no. So they cited it wrong. They barely put anything in. And then when they put it in, they cite it wrong. Oh my God, that's bad. Oh, I am proud though, because it really it's hard to mess up this bad, you know. God, no wonder they don't want to. Again, no wonder the ecosystem, they don't want to talk about all this mess, right? Because if they did, this is a lot of money went to this guy, a lot of money that they promised would go to other places. It went to this, and look how badly this is going. So let's see the correct site is, so you can see where they cited it. And I guess in the citation there, they cited it to the 3rd district. So they don't even get it. Oh my God. They don't even cite their cases properly. That's pretty funny. I'm kind of proud of that. I'm kind of proud of people when they're so bad at their jobs that they, yep, sure enough, they did. They absolutely did. They cited it wrong. Oh my God. Debtor citation, Englishly distinguishable because it does not concern a lawsuit where the debtor voluntarily initiated litigation against the creditor. In fact, it was the opposite. Whoops. So they only cite 2 cases. The first one is incorrectly cited, and in that, it's easily distinguishable from the case that we're talking about because it doesn't concern anything that is the same at all. And of course, they do this. I mean, again, his filings have been so bad in the past that he's been in trouble with courts. You can look it up. He had I actually think I need to tell Megan tomorrow. I think she's going to be back tomorrow. I'm pretty sure. But we need to bring up that hearing. I'm going to make a note for that. I'll forget otherwise. The hearing with Saran Wrap. I think it matters now because you've got here, if we compare page 13 with that hearing, I think you'd be shocked. You'd be shocked at how similar this is. So the issue in Lewis v. concerned a pre-petition lawsuit filed by a landlord creditor as plaintiff against a debtor, the debtor as defendant. So that's totally different. So in Preston v. Hales et al., you know, all the other people too, Preston is the plaintiff. Hales, everyone else defendant, right? And what they cite, it's the opposite. You have a landlord or a creditor come in as a plaintiff and file something against the defendant, which absolutely is against bankruptcy stays. And the landlord received an eviction order. Oh my God. I told you I'm going to mess up some words today. My brain is like a freaking a blender in ways. Still, I'm like, well, I'm choosing my words pretty well, but odor, that's pretty funny. Order against the debtor. It's pretty funny. Even though a bankruptcy petition was filed correctly, the appellate court reversed the eviction order as void due to its issuance during the pendency of the automatic stay and remanded the case for further proceedings. Of course, yeah, in that case there, again, that one would have been correctly done. So there was an order that came in and it was overturned, but it has nothing to do with what we just saw happen in Levy County. It's nothing like it at all. That's nuts. It's nuts. Now, the only other case cited by the debtor in support of her motion is Echo River Sanctuary. Now, unfortunately, this does not help the debtor in her argument. This is because her case law is not even remotely close to concerning a lawsuit where the debtor voluntarily initiated litigation against the creditor. Instead, it was a case concerning a lawsuit filed by a mortgage company against a debtor where nearly a month before, the mortgage company attempted to perfect its lien. The debtor filed for bankruptcy. Good Lord. So in this case that they're noting doesn't help either because it's not close to this one anyway. So it was a case concerning a lawsuit filed by a mortgage company again against a debtor. So not the plaintiff. Oh my God. That's terrible. You cite two cases and none of them are even remotely close. You know, it's supposed to be about who has the better legal argument. You know, when you get down to it, who's more compelling in their argument? And you tell me already, which argument do you find more compelling? Now, C, motions under Florida statute 57.105 are consequences of improper litigation conduct, not pre-petition claims. Now, the purpose of Florida statute 57.105 is to deter frivolous litigation and compensate parties who are forced to defend against such litigation. Florida statute 57.105, quote, generally provides the basis for sanctions against parties and counsel who assert frivolous claims or defenses or pursue litigation for the purpose of unreasonable delay. Like these people need to learn that right there too. Unreasonable delay. Those are some words. I'm just saying, you hear the ecosystem talk a lot about putting the brakes on cases. They managed to stall it for X amount of months. I kept thinking, well, you know, one day we're going to get to that point where somebody talks about unreasonable delay. I mean, because some of this stuff, it's nuts. But this means that it is designed to address litigation misconduct, not to create substantive claims against a party. Simply put, the debtor cannot have it both ways. That's right. Debtor, again, you cannot use it as a sword and a shield. That's exactly, like I say, that's the easiest quotation. If you're going to take anything from any of these filings, that's what you need to remember. Allowing a debtor to use the automatic stay to shield themselves from sanctions while pursuing claims against others would undermine the purpose of both the automatic stay and sanctions provisions. This is contrary to public policy behind the automatic stay, which is designed to protect debtors from collection actions, not to provide immunity from litigation misconduct. I think that's very easy to understand there. It's not supposed, the audacity of what they filed. I mean, when you think about it, like it's just the sheer audacity of what they decided to file. They didn't just file, hey, we think the automatic stay should be enforced this way. They asked for damages. Damages related to a frivolous lawsuit that was brought. Can you imagine? You cost somebody tens of thousands of dollars. Then you have the audacity to march a lawyer in and be like, hey, you know what? I think I deserve compensation for this frivolous stuff that I did. That's just, it's unreal. It is unreal argument. The principle that, quote, the automatic stay does not apply to the action brought by the debtor prevents debtors from using the automatic stay as both a sword and a shield, pursuing claims against others while simultaneously claiming immunity from the consequences of their litigation conduct. See, this is the perfect explanation of what they are trying to do and why it's wrong. Because if it were allowed the way that they want it, they would be able to, again, simultaneously, they would be able to go in, pursue claims against others. And any time that you tried to act upon your rights, they would be able to claim immunity to the consequences of any of their conduct. So that would essentially, again, that would allow them to weaponize the entire system to a point that it's absurd to think about. So the states, you know, they were waiting for this too. You can just feel it. I'm not saying that with any knowledge, by the way, that they were, but you could just, that they had to predict this move. They were like, they're probably going to try some stupid argument against this, and they were probably ready. So the state court's order does not violate the automatic stay. A, the state court had jurisdiction to determine the applicability of the stay. The state court had jurisdiction to determine whether the sanctions proceedings were subject to the automatic stay, as Florida courts have recognized, quote, the court in which the litigation claimed to be stayed is pending has jurisdiction to determine not only its own jurisdiction, but also the more precise question whether the proceeding pending before it is subject to the automatic stay. Well, that's an interesting citation too, because they were saying essentially this court here doesn't have the authority to do this. And it's like, Florida courts right here, they have said, quote, they do. They absolutely do. Now here, Christopher versus Bank of America, quote, we hold that the circuit court possessed limited jurisdiction to answer a discrete inquiry whether its pending proceeding was subject to the automatic stay. Its limited focus is upon the pending proceeding and not whether the debtor, as here, is legally entitled to the benefit of the automatic stay. See, they didn't argue. Okay, so when you look at that, again, they acknowledged the automatic stay. They weren't arguing against it, but they were looking at a limited scope that surrounds the automatic stay. Again, they looked at the question of entitlement. It's a very limited scope there. So this concurrent jurisdiction allows the state court to evaluate whether its actions fall within the scope of the automatic stay. Quote, the court in which the litigation claimed to be stayed is pending has jurisdiction to determine not only its own jurisdiction, but also the more precise question whether the proceeding pending before it is subject to the automatic stay. Thus, the applicability of the automatic stay falls concurrently within the purview of the bankruptcy court and that of the state court. Again, we have quite a bit of citation here, noting, quote, therefore, the court rejects debtor's implicit argument that a state court decision interpreting the scope of the automatic stay is void ab initio. Now, it's funny. That was essentially their entire argument in a nutshell. Therefore voided. Therefore voided. I love that. That means that the state court properly exercised its jurisdiction. The sanctions proceeding could proceed despite the debtor's bankruptcy filing. This determination is consistent with Florida precedent, which has consistently held that the automatic stay does not apply to actions brought by the debtor or defensive measures taken in response to the debtor's litigation. So B, the state court's order shows appropriate deference to the bankruptcy proceedings. It absolutely does. It notes them multiple times. That was something that they tried to use as a weapon too. LMNOP was like, it brings up the automatic stay, and they still continued. It's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? So nevertheless, the state court order demonstrates appropriate deference to the bankruptcy proceedings, while appropriately determining that the defendants are entitled to sanctions. The court reserved jurisdiction to establish the amount once the bankruptcy stay is lifted. This approach perfectly respects the bankruptcy process while properly exercising the state court's concurrent jurisdiction to determine the applicability of the automatic stay. This balanced approach is consistent with the purpose of the automatic stay, which is to provide temporary relief to the debtor from creditors' collection efforts. As shown supra, it is not intended to shield debtors from the consequences of their litigation conduct or to prevent courts from managing their dockets and enforcing their rules. This is especially true when the debtor, as a plaintiff, attempts to get away with filing a frivolous lawsuit. And that is exactly or precisely what occurred here. Yes, indeed. You are not shielded from filing garbage lawsuits. Again, they kicked this can down the road thinking that, I guess they could pause this action forever. I'm not sure what they thought, because sooner or later, the bill comes due. And I mean, look at the actions that these people are taking these days. Look at how crazy they've gone. In any case, look at how much you find out and what they do down the road. If they would have if they would have done something with this months ago, maybe it would have been less. It definitely would have been less damaging in the fact that cost, the cost that has arisen in this is substantial. And a lot of that comes from Preston's repeated attempts to dodge any hearing whatsoever. And according to her, she was being told by multiple people behind the scenes that she did not have to go to something. I would be really, including her bankruptcy lawyer. She says that Saran Wrap told her that she didn't have to go to these hearings. She absolutely believed it too. She did. She absolutely believed that idea. I'm not saying 100%. Again, I'm saying she said that, but she definitely believed it. So somebody definitely put that idea in her head. That shirking the court would be a wise way to go. I have never had an attorney ever tell me that disrespecting the court, disrespecting a judge would be the smart play. Never in my life. I've been told the opposite, to always respect the court. Always showcase the proper deference, to even if you can't stand what the court is saying, have no expression about it. Don't seem like you're annoyed by it whatsoever. Everything the judge says, you try your best. Every now and then something will get through, of course, but you try your best anyway to pretend that you're not like, oh my God, this is the dumbest thing ever. You may think they're getting it wrong, and that's what appeals are designed for, but you never insult the court. I mean, these people, they've gone out of their way to insult the court multiple times in multiple cases. And it amazes me. They think that if you turn the case into a clown show, that works out for them. And more than likely, that doesn't play. Ultimately, like I said, Lynette needs to wake up to the fact that she has been abandoned. That these people, listen to what they're talking about these days. Are they talking about you, Lynette? Absolutely not. You know what they're talking about? They're talking about trying to cause Jeremy Hale's problems and to hopefully, if they can, influence their lawsuits. Not yours. Your lawsuit, they've given up, Absolutely. William, I'm trying to compete with you. Yeah. Like I said, it was not fun. I already have to, from when I did mental health, I have that. When I speak, you can tell I pause. I think about what I say. And the reason for that, if you've ever worked with a very extremely mentally ill person that cannot agree with you on whether, the sky exists or just whatever, and they have a volatile history, you get to the point where you really think about what you say. So I already pause. And then on top of that, with brain fog and other issues, it makes me pause more. But I think that's, you got to be careful, my friend, too. Like vertigo and everything. Man, that feeling, people have no idea. If they've never experienced it, you and that would be including me until I experience it, the words don't really get it across. There's no comparison. You can make some comparisons people understand, but there's no real good comparison. Anyway, let's continue. But hey, props to you, my friend. So, Florida law supports the state court's approach to sanctions. Florida law on frivolous litigation. Florida statute 57.105, quote, provides the basis for sanctions against parties and counsel who assert frivolous claims or defenses or pursue litigation for the purpose of unreasonable delay. The statute includes a 21-day safe harbor provision, which allows a party to withdraw the offending pleading to avoid sanctions. What blows my mind? Again, they argued this portion. Like you had BBB argue against this stuff. It blew my mind because he said, these are again his exact words on this subject, talking about sanctions. He said that there is no basis to seek damages for having to spend money to defend a frivolous lawsuit unless you prevailed on the underlying allegedly frivolous lawsuit on its merits. Since it was voluntarily dismissed without prejudice and so can be refiled, you can't get sanctions. I mean, he really posted that. I mean, that is a failure to understand basic case law. That's so nuts. Gosh. So, defendants were properly served a 21-day safe harbor letter on Preston and attorney before filing the motion under Florida statute 57.105. Now, Florida statute 57.105 was revised in 1999. It now, quote, applies to any claim or defense and does not require that the entire action be frivolous. That's interesting. Huh. So any claim or defense involved being frivolous, holy shit, man. Some of these, the ecosystem really needs to pay attention to that, because some of the stuff that's been going on lately, oh my God. Any claim that they make that is frivolous, not the entirety of an action being frivolous. Like, you think about that. Oh man, that could be a big problem for them. This broader scope reflects the legislature's intent to deter frivolous litigation when parties are forced to defend against such actions. And yes, there are a lot, like in Tennessee, for example. You know, they keep saying they're going to sue all these people all over. Okay, well, in Tennessee, we have some pretty good laws that definitely impact this ability not only to sue, but I definitely will get my my lawyer fees back if anybody comes after me, and more. It's funny. It's funny. They're like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Okay. Well, you may just screw yourself there, but all right. So B, voluntary dismissal does not divest the court of jurisdiction to hear a motion under Florida Statute 57.105. Now here, look, Preston's voluntary dismissal of her complaint after the expiration of the 21-day safe harbor period does not shield her from sanctions for her pre-dismissal conduct. That's right. So we kept saying, we kept telling them, we told the entire ecosystem that they had multiple live streams arguing this point, telling you that you can't have it again. I took screenshots of Bruce sitting in the chats talking about it while they sat there. And again, Lynette Preston, I wonder if she will wake up before she has nothing left. I don't know if she, I mean, again, she's complained about things, but every move they make, it reminds me of a freaking a Wile E. Coyote skit, you know. They keep just digging in deeper and deeper, chasing that roadrunner. It's absurdity. So, Florida courts have held that, quote, a notice of voluntary dismissal does not divest a trial court of jurisdiction to award sanctions under 57.105 Florida Statute 11, even after a voluntary dismissal is taken. The only exception is where, quote, the plaintiff has voluntarily dismissed the case within the 21-day safe harbor period of 57.105, in which case sanctions pursuant to 57.105 are unavailable to the defendant. This was pointed out again by Larry. It was pointed out by everyone. Larry, though, he told Bruce, he was like, dude, you know, you guys, you know, you need to drop this before it goes on, before it continues into this. It's going to be a problem. And yet, so Preston and her attorney failed to take advantage of this opportunity and proceeded in continuing the frivolous lawsuit she filed against Hales after the 21-day safe harbor period, Florida Statute 57.105. Yes, they did this while not doing anything. It amazes me that, again, Stark, I have no idea. I can't figure out the plan. The plan on that lawsuit almost felt like it was going to screw Lynette Preston over from go, because they never turned over any discovery. They never planned on putting her on the stand. How exactly did they imagine that this would go? I mean, they brought it. They bragged about it. They bragged heavily about bringing that case too. That's what killed me. Again, I'll say this. I've said this many times. Ultimately, best case scenario for the ecosystem, if the other ecosystem people walk, Lynette Preston's not going to walk. She's already taken damages here. And she's done this already. This isn't the byproduct of Jeremy Hale's bringing a case. This is the byproduct of her bringing cases where she was told, oh, this is a great approach. This is a great idea. They went in and they recruited people. What an idiot, man. What an idiot. So the debtor is not entitled to damages under 11 U.S.C. 362K. There was no willful violation of the automatic stay. Under 11 U.S.C. 362K, an individual injured by the willful violation of automatic stay may recover actual damages, including costs and attorney fees, and in appropriate circumstances, punitive damages. However, there can be no willful violation of the automatic stay because the stay does not apply to the trial court's hearing a motion under Florida Statute 57105 in this case, as shown super. You know what's funny about this? They didn't make any of these arguments about this not being valid when the state court was talking about it. You notice that? This is like some desperate measure after the fact. But they didn't try to argue this while they had the chance while it was in that court. Isn't that interesting? I mean, when you think about it, because they didn't even bother to show up. And it wasn't, again, if it were one time, I'd be like, okay. And a court would be lenient on that too. You know, if you had something else going on or just whatever, you could have gone in and said, hey, judge, you know, I had a problem here or this or that, you know, can we do something about that? But they didn't. You know, they did this with every hearing that came up. And on top of that, they also, I mean, you saw Lynette Preston, when she wrote Randy about this, she wrote him and told him, hey, I'm not going to be there because I don't have to. I don't have to. I'm protected under this, you know. She didn't ask the court. She wrote at the last moment because that has been their plan. They are always planning to, you know, to try to do things at the very last second. I mean, that was her big plan. Her big plan was to say, nope, I don't have to. And she imagined, well, I'm sure she was told that. You know, again, that's not taking anything away from her. But I think that the counsel that she has gotten is woefully inadequate. They have given her some of the worst legal advice I've ever seen. Honestly. It started with filing this case, but beyond that, it goes into the reactions. When the case went bad, everything from filing a bankruptcy and on. And again, remember, with the ecosystem, one thing you need to remember is just like now, they held many a live stream to tell you just how right they were. And they bragged about their stupid plans. And that is a mistake. You know, one of the things I learned a long time ago, you know, I learned from real life and not cartoons, is the fact that you don't monologue like a cheap cartoon villain. I mean, these people do. They've already done that for days about like what they've been planning when they approached Hales with the lip stuff, for example. They have been monologuing like freaking cartoon villains. It's strange to me. You know, and again, they've already made that mistake. So it's not like you're correcting action. And they're not going to stop because they're too freaking stupid to stop. I mean, when they're sitting around being like, yeah, we all planned all of this together. And the real plan is when we get monetization, I'm going to run commercials, you know, that are talking about just how bad this person is. And I'm going to expose them and ruin them. Yeah. All that stuff is definitely something that can be used against you in a court of law. It's amazing to me. Anyway, let's continue. I'm getting off topic, but I'm just amazed sometimes. I look at this and am I having a fever dream? Is that what's happening here? Am I in the middle of a very detailed fever dream in which I imagine things that have gone on for years? Am I imagining the weirdest, craziest, for me, somewhat funniest case ever? But anyway, Hales and his counsel reasonably relied on the established Florida precedent, holding that the automatic stay does not apply to defensive measures taken in response to litigation initiated by the debtor. They filed a detailed memorandum of law analyzing the relevant case law and concluding that the sanctioned proceedings could proceed. Yes, and they had the court review it, by the way. The court gets to determine that too. So when they go in, they present their argument with case law, and the court looks at it and they decide whether or not that's applicable. God. This was not an attempt to circumvent the bankruptcy process, but rather a good faith legal position supported by substantial authority. That's right. Not just authority, substantial authority. Even if this court ultimately disagrees with the state court's interpretation of the scope of the automatic stay, Hale's actions would not constitute a willful violation, warranting damages. At most, there was a good faith dispute about the legal scope of the stay, not a willful violation. Yes, indeed. The only way you're going to get damages is for willfully violating. And again, if you got damages, like I said, for somebody filing frivolous garbage from someone that you have a protective order against and all this other, I swear to God. I mean, that would be absolute insanity when you think about it. The bankruptcy court has authority to validate the state's court's order below. Even if the court were to find that the state court's order technically violated the automatic stay, bankruptcy courts have the authority to, quote, validate such actions by retroactively annulling the stay when circumstance warrants such relief. That's interesting. So even if the court were like, well, that's a problem, they could still come in and be like, well, this is an issue right here. And I would think if you take the victims of a frivolous litigation and you were to sit down and to say, these people, they deserve something from the person who has been targeted from that would be absolutely crazy. I mean, it would, if you think about it. So again, case. A court shall grant relief from the stay, such as by terminating, annulling, modifying, or conditioning such stay for cause. Now, the 11th Circuit has explained that the word annulling in this provision, quote, evidently contemplates the power of bankruptcy courts to grant relief from the stay, which has retroactive effect. Otherwise, its inclusion next to terminating will be superfluous. Factors considered when determining whether the retroactively annul to stay include, quote, whether the debtor acted in bad faith and whether grounds would have existed for modification of the stay if the motion had been filed before the violation. In this case, the circumstances warrant retroactive annulment of the stay if the court finds that the state court order technically violated the stay. Preston initiated the underlying litigation as a plaintiff, failed to respond to discovery requests, and voluntarily dismissed her complaint on the eve of a hearing on the defendant's motion for summary judgment. She was properly noticed for the sanction hearing, but chose not to appear. Yeah, that leaves out a lot too. I mean, these are high points, and these high points are actually the reason that it goes with these specific high points are because they're the ones that the court order showcases. There are other things, when you think back to all the other things that she did within this, refusing to show up for this or that, driving up costs, doing it intentionally. I mean, that's one of the, damn it, give me a second. I think closed out. Give me a second here. I lost my document. Let me see. I hit a button. I went to cough and hit a freaking button. I was like, oh no. Give me a minute. I gotta open it back up. I've got it here. I'm just blowing it all back up to the size. We look at it like 150 to 175% magnification. So I don't want to blind you with that. There we go. So she was properly noticed for the sanctions hearing, did not appear. These circumstances demonstrate that grounds would have existed for modification of a stay if a motion had been filed before state court's order. So conclusion on this. For the foregoing reasons, the automatic stay does not apply to the sanctions proceeding against the debtor who initiated the underlying litigation as plaintiff. The state court properly exercised its concurrent jurisdiction to determine that the motion could proceed despite the automatic stay, and its order granting the motion determining entitlement to sanctions while reserving jurisdiction to establish the amount once the stay is lifted. See, this right here is a good note too. What the court did, excuse me, I had to take a drink again. Oh, Lord, I've almost drank 30 freaking ounces of water while I'm sitting here. The court, again, it looked at entitlement. It was saying, are you entitled to sanctions? But it didn't establish an amount. It reserved jurisdiction to establish that once the stay is lifted. And they're knowing that shows appropriate deference to the bankruptcy proceedings. The sanctions were imposed against both the debtor and the former attorney, quote unquote, in equal shares, demonstrating that they address litigation misconduct rather than attempting to collect a debt from the debtor personally. That is, again, important distinction, I think, there too. Once you have it, it's not just her, it's also her counsel. In bringing this, in both of them being held responsible, in Stark, which will be Scott Stark's estate now, but in Scott Stark also being held responsible. I wonder what Miss Stark thinks about the ecosystem and all their little gang of people. They definitely didn't look out for her best interest after the fact. I'm sure that when they were shopping the idea of this litigation, I'm sure that they told her that everything would go peachy. I wonder if she sits around and when stuff comes up, if she also blames Jeremy or if she puts the blame where it should be. Because again, Jeremy Hales did not initiate this conduct. They love to blame him for what happened with Stark and more. He's not the one who brought the case. Apparently what he should have done is just lay down and take it. That seems to be their stance, and it blows my mind. But the debtor cannot use the automatic stay as both a sword and a shield, pursuing claims against others while simultaneously claiming immunity from the consequence of her frivolous litigation. Again, that is the perfect way to break this down to people. If you need to explain it to someone, I think that is the best way of showcasing the argument. Because she's trying to shield herself. But what is she trying to shield herself from? She thought she could have it both ways. And it's wild because they bragged about it. What kills me is these actions here are things that they bragged about live. You had all of them. They threw a party. They even said, now they won't do this anymore, but they said at the time, oh man, this is such a good idea that I think there's going to be a lot of other people filing. You had Miltoast, others sitting around. By the way, remind me, I need to tell you something about Miltoast at the end of this. Remind me, okay? So there was no willful violation of the automatic stay. And the debtor is not entitled to damages under 11 U.S.C. 362K. So wherefore, Jeremy Hales respectfully asked the court, quote, to deny that there's an emergency motion to enforce automatic stay and for damages, find that the automatic stay does not apply to sanctions proceedings in Levy County court case. The case there. That would be thumbnailing. Uphold the validity of the state's court order granting defendant's motion for sanctions pursuant to section 57.105 SF entered on December 19th, 2025, deny the debtor's request for damages under 11 U.S.C. 362K, and to grant such other and further relief as the court deems just and proper. I think that was a good document. Again, I think that, a lot of times when you read through something, it feels like you have wasted space. Here's the best way, I think, looking at a court filing. If you have something that is heavily verbose, you have a lot of pages. When you look at those pages, does it make a concise argument that is backed up in law? Now, again, maybe somebody will make a better argument, but when you look at it, does it make sense? To me, that's not a boring filing. Boring filings are a problem too. Awful filings, but still they can be factual and good. But when you compare that to, again, the argument that was made by Lynette Preston, as they said with it essentially argues one major point, again, the bankruptcy code, and two cases that don't even fit. It does no real citation of any of the argument. I mean, it is lax. It is just lacking in everything. And on top of it, like I noted before, interestingly, when they decided to send all of that out, they didn't add 2L. Even though 2L is being thrown into bankruptcy proceedings and they keep talking about her as if she belongs there, they did not add her to anything. They have not tried to add her to any documentation yet. It's kind of wild, isn't it? Oh, man. I thought that was a pretty good filing, though. I think it makes a good point. I think it pretty much devastates just the absurd argument that they tried to make. If a court, again, if it went out and it penalized you after you had somebody file frivolous action against you, think about how insane that would be. I mean, that's a disturbing thought, because it would allow these people to target a person in an even worse way. And multiple people, they would definitely do that. I mean, it's already been attempted. Any case law that you have, that means that somebody else ultimately attempted something. That's why you have a law against it. Now, milquetoast. Let me send myself something real quick. I'm sending it from my phone because I want to show you something kind of funny. So milquetoast, as far as, first of all, I love the fact, milquetoast, stop using AI and stop asking people that you probably shouldn't ask for legal arguments. If you want to ask a legal question to someone, go ask a lawyer that is probably not a one-star lawyer. And just honestly, or somebody that actually still has a law degree. I don't know. It's something that you could actually put a little stock in. But milquetoast was like, if Hales tries to use any content creators in his camp, I like how, again, they tell on themselves because they're camps now. His camp, their camp, right? So it's their camp. Like I said, I like how the antis, they do admit that they have created this two-side dichotomy. It's kind of strange in its own way. But if he tries to use any of them as witnesses in any of his cases, can they, it's supposed to be, it's not the by, but they be impeached due to Hale's influence over their content, therefore finances. Dun, dun, dun. So if I cover something, I can't be a witness if you decide. So you could testify on behalf of something, but you think that Hales has impact. Like I said, you know what would make money, honestly? You know what would really make money? Channels, like for myself, if I'd come in and I found some kind of terrible thing that Hales had done, some kind of woeful, terrible misconduct, and it was like, this right here, this is a problem. That's where money would have came from, because it would have been a giant channel. And, you know, it would have been taking them down. But apparently, if you look into something, now, can you argue the point? Sure. You know, you can try that. Definitely. That's why, that's why it would be very important to note that, and when you turn over any documentation you use to refresh your memory on something, I'd be turning over an entire dossier of wonderful, wonderful items that I myself collected about the ecosystem. That way, when they want to argue these kind of things, wouldn't work out so well. But it's funny. It's like, is there any way to keep them from talking in the court? Really? Are you kidding me, man? This is so dumb. I mean, yes, you can try to argue that, but trying to keep somebody from actually being able to testify because of that? Are you kidding me? Let's hit some super chats. Cat Watcher, thanks for the 5 months. Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you, everyone. That's I did really well. I decoded that, and then I said everyone instead of everybody. Jack's mom, what's up, Jack's mom? It's good to see you there. And hello, 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 by the way, too, Cat Watcher. But Jack's mom's great to see you there, and thank you for the gifted membership. I'm glad, by the way, to be back again. Tables do not taste good, no matter what anyone has told you. They do not. I'm going to try not to do that ever again. That was not fun. I was not happy about that at all. It came real close to my eye. You know, all jokes aside, it hit like under my eye and slid down. And like I said, it cracked my damn teeth, which hurts. But I'll be able to get it fixed in a few days. But the suck thing about that was, I kept thinking if I would have landed just a little bit closer on my eye, that'd have been a real problem. So, you know, even though it really sucked and hurt, it could have been a lot worse, you know. Jack's mom, though, thank you. Appreciate it. I appreciate the entertainment, too, with pictures. Thank you. Emma, thanks for the 5. How's your face today? It's sore. It's sore. It's actually not as bad looking as I thought. Now, like I said, if I would have had more leg warmers wrapped around my head at the time, because it is mighty chilly out here. And if I would have been wrapped up, you know, safe and secure in my my little nest of those, I probably would have been okay. But, well, you know how that's played so far. I mean, villainizing somebody, making them get rid of their safety equipment. Oh, it's so sad. I know. I see all those little hearts people are hitting right there, by the way, on their phones. I love it. I've heard my whole life there aren't any stupid questions. I guess so stupid didn't get the memo. Well, that's true. You know, with that, there's kind of a caveat to that. There aren't stupid questions when a person, you know, they're trying to truly ask something. You know, when people are hoping, when they want to watch that backside and they're hoping that they can somehow miracle something into being, that doesn't save them most of the time. But how's the face? Sore. Did the table apologize at least? No, it keeps staring at me mockingly. It's like, oh, what a jerk. What a jerk. Max Lab, thanks for the 2. Sleep study went okay. Have to have a CPAP now, sadly. Well, at least you know, though. You know, one of the things with stuff, you will feel a lot better once you're breathing properly, you know? You will. When you're sleeping properly, you're breathing properly, you will feel a lot better, my friend. So it does suck in the immediate. But, you know, you think about it this way. You knew you were having an issue, so you had a sleep study, right? and you got an answer. Does it suck to have to do something? Yes. But, if it corrects that issue, if you find that it helps you out, you, in the long run, you will feel a lot better. So, promise to you, man. Love to you, brother. But at the same time, look at it in its positive, as it can give you some relief from issues. Joan, thank you for that super sticker there. Thank you, Joan. I appreciate that. The Garbage Hales kids. Love it. Thank you. Emmy dropped a 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, Emmy. Appreciate that. Man, I've been thinking more and more about how I want to lounge on a beach, somewhere away. Gosh, I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I've been like, man, do y'all ever do that? I'm being serious for a moment. Do you ever think, man, I'd like to move out of the States? Just not because of anything stupid. A lot of people are crazy, and they're like, I want to move out because I hate this social thing or political thing. No, none of that. I'm just like, do you ever get there and you think, man, I wonder what it'd be like in this place or that place? I've been in that a lot lately. Now I have kids, so it kind of moors me to things. I think moving them internationally would probably be it probably would not be cost effective, but I have been thinking about it. But Emmy, your avatar made me think about that, lounging on the beach somewhere. Thank you for those 2 months there. There's not a statement, but it is in itself a huge statement. Back in the channel 2 months. Thank you. Jada. What's up, Jada? I like that freaking avatar too. It looks nice. It looks like you could just hang out there. Gifted 5 gifted memberships. Thank you. Appreciate that. Somebody said, distract me. Instead of CPAPs, like a spider monkey on my face. Couldn't do it. Actually, have you seen those CPAPs that, the alien face hugger? Have you seen the ones that took the alien face hugger and basically put a couple of eye slots on it? It's wild. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. It's so weird. That would freak me out. Like if I woke up, CPAP alien face hugger. Somebody made one, and it is very creepy looking. Yeah, they have the eyeless ones, which the eyeless ones are actually kind of even worse and more horrifying. But the eye one, okay, so look at this. This is really freaky. This would freak me out. If I had one of these, this would absolutely freak me out. So look at that. That's the alien face hugger. It's got eyes there, but it holds it in place. It has the strap, but then it links on and it sets around your neck. I would wake up in the middle of the night and it would horrify me. I don't think I could do that. Thank you, Jada, too. Appreciate you. Fallen Hero, thanks for the 5 there. Oh, it's your birthday. That's cool. I was like, what? Oh, it's your birthday. Awesome. Well, let's bust this out. Let me put my headphones back on. I took them off for a second. Let me put them back on real quick, or I can't hear the music. 1 second here. Gotta roll back to it. Cool. I love it. I'm glad. And Fallen Hero, too. That's awesome, man. Here we go.
Happy birthday from both of us.
Everybody, give a happy birthday. Happy birthday.
May all your dreams come true. Happy birthday. We love to have you here. Happy birthday. Here's to another year.
Heck yeah. Appreciate you there. Happy birthday, Jay, too. What's up? Happy birthday from all of us to you. Yeah, happy birthday, Jay. May all your dreams come true. Man, Nancy Rue, it's your birthday yesterday, too. Let me throw in, Jay, I sang it for you. Let me throw in one more of this. Ooh, happy birthday from all of us to you. Yeah, getting all those short arms to make those dreams come true. Yeah, that's pretty. So many birthdays, man. Love to all of you, too. Up there is Proud Auntie. Yesterday was my birthday. Pretty good one. Good. There's what I have to hear too. Right there. I hope your birthday, first of all, Fallen Hero, I hope your birthday has gone swimmingly. I hope it's been great. On top of that, again, what was it? Nancy, Jay. I hope all of those birthdays have been good. We're going to bust up another song too. Let's do it.
Happy birthday. From both of us to you. Happy birthday. May all your dreams come true. Happy birthday. We love to have you here. Happy birthday. Here's to another year.
Man, heck yeah. Screen. What did it say? I'm watching another free speech YouTube case, and the creators in it were able to win anti-slap, but it's still being drawn out. Yes, the appeals process is such a mess. You know, it is. That's what I'm saying. Like in Tennessee, we have some heavy anti-slap laws. The problem the ecosystem is facing, especially now, they have now come out and they have made some. It's just like the sign statements, the things that they did where they've doubled down. They're trying to grow channels and trying to get their viewership up, and it will work in the immediate. But the problem is long term, it doesn't. You know, people, what are they going to add next? Because I mean, honestly, these things that they have claimed are so horrendous that they sidestep the freedom of speech. You know, in Fed 2, some of the people there, they may well have made an argument for some kind of anti-slap, or really, you know, in they're arguing, essentially they're arguing freedom of speech, and some of them may have prevailed on that. But now certain ones seem to be trying to dig that hole deeper and deeper and deeper. And they tell you at the same time that if you yourself talk about it, that you don't have the right to talk about cases that they involve themselves in, and they'll sue you. It's the wildest thing I've ever seen. Ugh, such nuts there. But yeah, a lot of this stuff is crazy. And Proud Auntie, though, I hope that birthday was great. You know, it's good, man. I love it when people have great birthdays or good ones. You said pretty good one. That's great. Laura, thanks for the 38 months. You got to lift your feet when you walk, Tug. I feel for you. I suffer vertigo at times, too. Yet for the last month, I think part of it is the weather changes, because we've had such severe weather changes. Some of it is sinal and it locks in. And on top of all this other stuff, it's just like it never stops. But sometimes it's very bad. You know, it's like, I don't think, like, honestly, and I'm glad I do this, because I honestly do not think that, I would be able to drive to a job. That's sad to say, but that's the reality right now. I don't think I could drive myself somewhere. So I'm glad I have this. Otherwise, man, I feel for people out there, dude. You know, no complaints there. I'm definitely happy to be able to do this. And, you know, I'm fortunate. Patrick, thanks for the 5. Talking to Buffalo Bills fans, we know how to treat a table. No Bills. I know, man. After 4 certain after 4 certain Super Bowls that shall not be named, I'm sure you probably get really mad about certain things, and that sucks too, because the Bills have fielded some very good teams in the past. You know. Sticky, thanks for the 15 months there. 15 months seems like, oh yeah, indeed. It does. I've been getting, so this is fun. You know how you get reminders, like on Facebook especially, they're like, oh, a year ago. So I'm getting some of the stuff from a year ago that was posted in this case, and some of it is quite insane. I honestly cannot believe some of the stuff that was said. Like go back. I mean, really, if you screenshot or do anything like that, go back and look at your devices and look at what you've picked up. Because last year, I mean, it's nuts. I saw somebody's post about some stuff, but 15 years, it is, or 15 months, rather. It feels like 15 years sometimes, and sometimes it feels like only yesterday. But yeah, you should go back and look, because those reminders I'm getting of just a year ago, some of that stuff is insane. Travis, thanks for the 5 there. Been a great few days. Glad you're on. My dad has lung cancer, taken out yesterday. Is recouping well enough to be at home. Hey, that's awesome, man. The Lord's works in weird ways. Indeed. I mean, hey, he's recouping enough. He's at home right now and everything. That is tremendous, bud. That is a great piece of news, you know. Love to you, brother, you know, for sure. I'm glad that that's working out that way, you know. With this stuff too, I know when you're helping someone out and you're caretaking, remember stress. I'm seeing this with other people as well that, you know, are friends that I care about too. They, a lot of times when we're stressed out, we don't take moments for ourselves. Make sure you take time for yourself too, man. You know, I know you've been helping out with that, but you gotta, like, even if it's only like an hour or 30 minutes in a day, set aside some time where you can do that. And this, that's good. You can come on, goof off, anything that takes your mind off of stuff going on, you know, because you need those. You need those reprieves. You need them in the day. But love to you, brother. And it's great news. Cynic, thanks for the 2. Judge Shrug is a potted plant. Is a table plant. Yeah, that's indeed true. I like Judge Shrug. Whatever. I like that, by the way. A table plant. Yeah, I did definitely plant myself on that table. You are right. That hurt too. David, thanks for the 15 months. Take it easy, Tug. We don't need a double header. Yesterday was the Mondayest Monday of all Mondays. Is that true? I felt like it. Big Rig Blue on an airline, man. So I was stuck at mine for hours until I could live at home. Loved it. Oh, that sucks, man. Did I ever tell you all about the car ride that took me 9 hours to go, like an hour and a half? Oh, Lord. This happened, you know, back in the 90s when cell phones weren't that big of a thing. I went to visit my grandparents. They lived where I am now, and I lived in Goodlettsville, which is outside of Nashville. It was about an hour and a half trip. So I went to, it was holiday, and there wasn't a lot open. You know, not a lot to choose from, but I stopped at this small market gas station, and they had an insane amount of debris in the gasoline that they had. Find this out later on. Well, I fuel up there. I get out. I drive about 15 minutes, end up getting on the interstate. Right when I do, my car starts to die. It's because the debris starts clogging up my car. Now, I'd found that if I stop it, let it coast for a minute, or slow down and stop, that after about 3 or 4 minutes, I could start up and go again, you know, and I could go a little ways, but I couldn't go that far. You know, we said too, there's no cell phone. I don't have a cell phone or anything. We're out in the middle of nowhere because there's nothing close by out here. And weirdly enough, you know, I sat for a minute to see if like a cop, a trooper or something would stop. Nothing. So I was like, all right, well, I mean, there's nowhere to walk to. There's nowhere to go. So let's just go. So nothing was open. Like I said, you know, we pulled off a couple of places and there was nobody around. It's in the middle of nothing. So I was like, all right, I guess we're going to have to drive back. That trip, they should have taken an hour and a half. It took a work freaking whole session. What really sucked is part of the drive down. Oh, some of the places I had to drive through were awful with that. But I hear you. I mean, I sat for a while though. Like I said, I was waiting. I thought, man, maybe a cop or somebody will come by. You know, they can at least call in a tow truck. No. Drove that sucker home. What a mess. Took forever. Limping out. I hear you there. Cajun Bayou Queen. I had a big LTD Crown Victoria. I bought it at a police auction. One of those big monsters, you know, those big square monster 1980 freaking police cars. Those things that looked and drove like a tank. Yeah. I loved that thing, by the way. That thing was that thing. I can't imagine driving it now though, because the gas mileage it was like driving a tank. It was just like, how much gas mileage do you get? Okay. drink. Cajun Bayou Queen, thanks for 11 months. My heart meds make me pass out. The only way to fix it is by not taking your meds. I hope you have better luck. Mine are weird. So mine make me feel bad. So that Flutacort especially, which handles the low blood pressure, works by trapping liquid and messing with salt, your salt content in your body. The only way I can stomach it is to take it before I sleep. Now, with that, it's something I had to talk to my doctor about the risk to it, but I was just like, man, I can't work on it. I can't do anything with it. So they were like, try it out. And I do okay with it, but man, I have to drink a lot of water while I'm sleeping too. I wake up, guzzle water. Is not fine. Deborah, thank you for the dryer relief. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. That dryer, that was shell shock. The last time I bought a dryer, it was like $300 something. But the last time I bought a dryer, it wasn't even that high, I don't think. The last time I also bought a dryer was in 2016 or something. It was a long time ago. Now, I didn't get fancy or crazy with it. I got a 7.2 cubic inch. It was a Samsung. It's not like decked out in any weirdness. I don't want a bunch of stuff that'll break. Now, every one of them these days has some buttons to it and everything, but I wanted something that, would be put under warranty. So at least for 3 years. So it's saved there, but still $771. I was like, oh God, that's a lot, man. So, Dan, thank you for the font there. You'd figure that you know how to walk after how many decades in this blue-green ball. I know. You'd think so. Not to have much room to talk. I could trip over anything. I feel like that some days. When I first was growing up, it's funny. 1 year, my feet, they went from like a size 8 to like a size 12 or something. So, they pontooned up this 1 year. They went up 4 inches in size. It's like, oh my God. So navigating those boats around, it's strange. Like, you imagine if your foot added 50% of its length within a few months. Imagine how hard it would be to walk around. I had that. I was tripping over everything. It was like driving a pontoon. It was so weird. Gracia, thank you for the super sticker there. I just so appreciate it, by the way. Like I said, the kids love those, so I get to show them. At the end of the day, I love that. Thank you. I like them too, but they really like them. Lynn, thanks for the 10 there. Better days ahead. That's right. Like I said, at least it all happened on a Monday, That's the way I looked at it. At least it was a Monday, and it's early in the year. So if bad things are going to hit, there's another thing. So this is crazy. When I bought my home, there was an acre that was supposed to be attached in it that for some reason in the original deed, they did not attach. I did not notice it for 3.5 years. I was like, huh. And the only reason I noticed it is because the person who sold it didn't pay back taxes or didn't pay taxes on it. So I found out about it a couple of years back, and the guy that sold it, nice guy, by the way, none of this was intentional. It's just a screw up, but the guy disappeared. He just floated off into the ether. So I've been trying to track him down for 2 freaking years since then. And finally this year started tracking him down. But I started paying taxes in 2023. Well, this year, while I was trying to get all this stuff fixed, because it's taken me 2 years of messing with this crazy. While I'm working on it, I got thinking, even though I've been paying taxes for 3 years on this piece of property because I don't know where the guy is, you know, to get it worked out, maybe I should look at back taxes just to make sure. You know, even though the state, they know where I'm at, they finally get it switched over. I talked to them and everything else. Come to find out, there were 2 years of back taxes that were being penalized and could potentially put the thing up for auction that were sitting over at the courthouse down here. So I found out the other day that there was $100 in back taxes. And the penalties on that, which is one reason I bet they don't tell you about it, the penalties on the back taxes, the $100, was $381. So to clear $100 in back taxes, I had to pay almost $500. It's like, this is insane. You know, it's so messed up. So that's been this year so far. But like I said, at least it's at the beginning, you know, that way. And it is setting, you know, things are getting cleared up. But I've got, like I said, there's an acre of land that is attached behind my house that it is supposed to be part of it. Finally found the guy. He's supposed to sign off on everything. And I have to pay more money to get that signed out. But finally, it'll be fixed. And then we can go and record on it and do other stuff. It'll be fine. That'll be better days. Rob, thanks for the 10. Tug, I wanted to ask, but the other super chat subjects always came. Did you intend for your prison garb avatar to have, sexy? I wanted it to, have some breasticles. So when you're looking at it, you're like, sexy, sexy, sexy. Indeed. That is true, actually, for real. I told it to be a little sexy, you know, for that whole, remember the whole hashtag Tugs Teats? I thought that would be funny. So I did. I had a little bit of extra, little excess to make it sexy. I love it. I love it when people notice stupid stuff like that, you know. That's my sense of humor. Add in something dumb and never mention it. Let other people notice it. Wanda, thanks for the 2. Just because. Well, thank you. I appreciate your just because. Thank you. That's awesome. If you appreciate it, I like that. Rhea Wright, thanks for the 2. My autoimmune ear disease gives me vertigo too. Does it give you a lot of ear buzzing sounds too? I'm curious. Like I said, this has been trying to hammer this down and figure out what it is. It's not been fun, and it's been costly. It also causes me, in the U.S., people have no idea, like, you know, in the U.S., so for me and my 2 kids, for insurance to have, just so I have insurance, I have to pay almost $1,200 a month. For something that's halfway decent because I have pre-existing conditions. On top of that, I still have to pay out thousands of dollars a year if I have a problem. So I don't think, you know, when I complain about like another year of costs, I sometimes wonder if people, you know, it's like $14,000 just to have insurance. And then whatever your deductible is, $2,000 or $3,000 on top of that. So you can be in, insurance is about $17,000 a year. Isn't that fun? People outside the U.S., anytime somebody's like, man, our setup's great. never believed it. It's something to bark about. Thanks for the 5 gifted memberships there. Thank you. Something to bark about. I much appreciate you. Said I enjoy your content too. It has been a good breather from these moments. I would recommend that to anybody that wants to go have fun. Just check something out. Tug is Marilyn Manson under there. Yeah. Yep. I got the moves going on. That's right. They're sexy, aren't they? Thank you, though. Something to bark about. People check that. For real. Check the channel out. I think you would enjoy it. You know? Give yourself a breather and just have fun. You know, sometimes we need that. Be Rad, thanks for the 5 there. Appreciate the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, Be Rad. And it is good to see you around, my friend. You know, seeing you a lot more. Look, I love seeing names that I've known for quite some time. It's awesome, man. Gives me flashbacks. I love it. Thank you too, brother. Fines worth keeping. Thanks for the 5. A dryer grift is needed. That's right, because it existed, it broke, and it was replaced. Hope this helps with the bill. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I was kind of shocked by it. That's also with, so I went to Lowe's and picked it up. They had, so there's this funny little caveat I never really thought about either. They have a Lowe's card, right? You can go over there and they tell you if you apply for a card, you get $100 off. Okay, so I applied and they were like, yeah, you know, you've been accepted. And I was like, oh, okay, well, since I applied, you said if I applied, I get $100 off, right? Yeah. So even just applying gets me that. Yeah. I was like, okay, well, I don't want to use that card. That card had a 31 point something % APR on it. I was like, yeah, no, I don't want that in my life. You keep that for yourself. I will pay you today. 31% APR. That is criminal. You know, they used to complain about mafia freaking loan sharks, man. Yeah. Andre, thanks for the 2. I would think it would be draining hearing this. Well, it's something, and it is definitely something. Deborah dropped a gifto there. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. Appreciate the help with the channel, and I appreciate you giving something to someone else too. Thank you for that. Green Veggie, thanks for the 5. Have you tabled any discussions? I don't think we had any discussions after that. It definitely tabled my discussion. It was like, kapow. Would it make you bored if we talked about slamming things down? You are very punny today. I like it. That's funny. Dart, thanks for the 10. I went to therapy for vertigo. One session, they did something called Epley maneuver. Not fun, but it made the vertigo 90%. Let me look that up. The Epley. I feel pretty desperate. So Epley maneuver. I don't remember that. Oh yeah. That's where you lay and you turn and stuff. I've tried so there's a setting up version and a laying down version of that, you know, and it is really disorienting at first. It was freakish. So that's essentially where you, that version is laying down that I'm seeing, but where I tried it, it's where you set up, you face like to the right and look up like toward the ceiling. So you're facing over, and then you lay down toward your left. So, you know, you're facing the opposite direction, laying down and looking up. And oh my Lord, that was very bizarre at first. You feel like, I was like, Lord, the sky is spinning, you know, this is wild, but it does help some. I've forgotten the name of that, but yeah, I've tried that over, I've tried a lot of stuff, you know, but that does help sometimes, you know. So they tell you like to lay down in a dark area and do this, and I've tried everything. Feel like it's crazy. Cynic, thanks for the 65 months there. Thank you, dude. That's a lot of months, brother. My, how the tables have turned. Not only for Tug's face, but also for the Flea's minions being thrown under the bus. Pop the popcorn, the show goes on. Indeed, it was so crazy. I'm telling you, yesterday, that's why their stream, it was taken down everywhere else. And they put it behind a paywall, which is wild when you think about it. So if somebody pays for the pleasure, they get to rewatch someone getting treated like absolute garbage. That's lovely, right? I mean, but no, they try to hide this kind of stuff because it didn't go over well. Again, you know, you're talking about somebody that all these people, over time, you've noticed how many of these folks, they've had their falling out. And I'm not saying people don't have falling outs. It's the way they handle it. Like me with a larger channel. There are some people I don't like. I know, shocker, right? But I don't want you to know that. I don't want to, unless they want to fight, if they want to fight, maybe. Even then, I don't think I'm going to dedicate 2 hours to just wrecking them unless they do something really bad. But complaining about how you feel you're not listened to, when something like that comes up, if somebody's complaining that, oh man, this or that went on, a proper business, like this is my approach. I do this. You may see me do this. You may see me respond to posts this way. I apologize for it. It doesn't matter if you're wrong. It doesn't matter at all. Because people want to be validated. You apologize. You say, hey, I'm sorry that that's going on. You feel this way. You explain your position. You're like, this is what has gone on with that. You could do it behind the scenes too, instead of doing a 2.5 hour, struggle session where they want to ruin somebody. But then you thank them for their opinion, whether or not you're wrong. Now again, that's not if somebody's trying to wreck you, but that's not what happened in that situation. Somebody just felt like they had been treated wrong and they wanted to be validated. They thought these people were their friends. And instead of doing that, they do what they always do. They put crosshairs on them. So wild, man. But yeah, it's a good show. It is. Lorraine, thanks for the two there. Are you? Hope you're feeling well now. I'm feeling better. Like my face hurts, but I still have problems like looking straight at the computer and stuff like that. It messes with my reading, all of that, and my ears buzz all the time. It drives me nuts. But at least I'm not falling into stuff right this minute, so it's pretty good. Heather, thanks for the 5 there. I saw a few minutes of 2L last night. When I say that Florida didn't have to honor the Ohio protective, yes, that was another wonderful talking point they have adopted over the last few days. They have been saying that repeatedly that the protective order, it's not from Florida, so Florida doesn't have to honor it. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Full faith and credit. They do know that statement, right? Full faith and credit. Should look it up. I mean, again, we are talking about something that is clearly established. It has been discussed nauseum. But their arguments now are, well, it doesn't matter if they break it, because it's not Florida's responsibility. It's Ohio's. I mean, that is insane. I mean, think about that with stalkers. Like, again, you have stalkers like the type we see with this. But think about that in a classic scenario, how people imagine a protective order. You have a female taking out a protective order against a male stalker. Do you think that once they cross state lines, that it should no longer exist, that protective order? It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Hey, Sean, thanks, 5. If you're drinking a lot of water, you need to be checked for diabetes. You need to. I have had one. I did. The water thing, a lot of it, I think, is because of that fluticord as well. That stuff, it really acts on my water as well. But I am not. I need to get it. This stuff is it feeds on itself. You know, when you like if you have trouble walking, you're not out walking and staying in shape as much. So it definitely doesn't help me there. So part of that, I try to walk. I try to get in my steps. I try to get in. I try to get 10,000, but recently, it's not very nice either. But yeah, for sure. Thank you. And again, suggestions, I do appreciate them. Heather, thank you for the super sticker there. Thank you, Heather, again. I appreciate the heck out of those. The kids, more than anything, love them, and I love to show them to them. The Floofage, thanks for the 8 months. Hey, the Floof, you're still in the hospital there. We like to pray for ascending prayers, etc. The overlords are training guests in the arts of treats and hugs. Hey, for sure. You know what? DeFloof, we all appreciate you. Still in the hospital, you know. We will keep you in our thoughts for sure, in our prayers. Everybody keep Floofy there. Thoughts and prayers. You know, like I said, we very much appreciate you. William, thanks for the 10 there. Looks like you're trying to compete with me. You have young onset Parkinson's. My porch only has 2 steps. So figure out a way to give myself a black eye. No, you know. Love to you, brother. You know, that's rough. That is rough. You know, you be careful. I know I'm not trying to come up when something happens with me either. You know, I talk about it because I missed a day. People are like, I got 300 or 400 emails of it, which I appreciate. So, you know, I definitely mention it too. But yeah, I know a lot of people go through stuff too. And love to y'all as well. Emma, thanks for the 5 there. Had vertigo in the past, BPVV. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. It's horrible and scary. Yeah, for real. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah. Vertigo's weird. I guess the best way to describe it is if you've ever had a really bad sinus infection, you know, like you feel like everything's focused between your eyes. You know, it's that weird feeling where you can't think right either. I have brain fog on top of it. So it's like your mind is congested and then everything wants to spin. It's just a terrible feeling. It's like that, but it never relents. So it's a terrible one. Shelly, it's funny. Vertigo, weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. I remember those commercials. I love it. I love it. That's a funny callback. I like it. It's amazing. I like that name. That's really fun. Thank you for the 6 months there. Take care. Indeed. And thank you. Like I said, I like your name. That's awesome too. Wheat Coast, what's up? Wheat Toast West Coast. Thank you for the gifted membership there. Thank you, Wheat Toast. Good to see you, my friend. Tizzy, what's up, Tizzy? Hope you're doing good too. Thank you for the gifted membership. Thank you. Appreciate you. Jaguar, thank you for the 5 giftos there. I appreciate that too. Thank you. Man, 7 giftos right there. Thank all of you right here. Appreciate it, man. All you guys. Like I said, I appreciate those so much. They're great. They help out the channel. They give to other people. I dare. Thank you for the 21 months. I was in elementary school. Fell, hit a table, split my bottom lip open, requiring stitches. It sucks, man. I busted my bottom lip. I was running through a yard and it was heavily fogged. And you know those you know what a dog runner is? You know where people, they chain their dogs up, but they have them on like a clear looking line that runs from like a tree to another tree, right? So I'm running through this field. It's in the morning. I'm trying to get over to the school bus is what I'm doing. So I'm cutting through. And when I cut through, you know, these neighbors' yard, they just put this up. I didn't see it because of all the fog. Hit this freaking thing right in my mouth. Whack! Busts my lip open. Busted good too. And you know, of course, it upends me. So I'm laying there on the ground, and I look over, and right when I look over, I notice their pit bull that's sitting in this doghouse, getting up, ready to come at me. And luckily, I had the clarity of thought to get up really quick because that was not a nice dog. That dog was, it was not a nice dog at all. I got lucky there. But yeah, man, the stuff that the little one, you know, she was jumping on the bed one day and came off of it, hit a thing over by the side. That happened in winter, you know, when they complain about me driving her to the hospital. That's what she's talking about. So, Travis, thanks for the 5. Glad you're on tonight, brother. Hope the girls and your face are doing good today. They're doing good. Yeah. Happy dad home for sure. So drinking, worrying about him. Hope Shannon's good too. Indeed. You know, worry is expected too, man. You know, that's natural. It's just, you know, if it gets to the point, unplugging and coming over doing something like this, it's healthy for you. We worry about the people we love, man, you know. And it's good that in that, you know, since you're there and you're focused on someone else, you're also like for the for the physical part, like drinking stuff, you're taking care of yourself there as well. So that's actually a good portion of a bad situation. But it's good he's home. That's great, man. I mean, right away from all of that, that sounds like, considering what's been done, that actually sounds really good. But again, prayers for your dad, man, and for you. Pickled Tank, thanks for the 5. I live about 8 miles from the beach. It's been more than 10 years since I went to the beach. I used to go all the time before kids. I don't like the ocean. It's kind of wild. Talk about the beach would be fun, but look, I don't like the ocean because it's sharks. I've had a couple of incidents when I've been in the ocean, very few times when I was younger, and they horrified me. I always think about sharks when I'm in the ocean. So I had one time I waded out and I got out to about neck deep, where you're deep enough where you can't do anything about it. Right. I get out there and I feel something just slide across my leg, and it's not wood or seaweed. It's got that feeling, it's a large fish. And I looked out, and the way the light caught, I could see off, they have waves off on a wave. I could see a shark riding away. I was like, oh my God, and I'm neck deep in the water. I can't move fast, and I'm panicked as hell because, this was big. I felt it just slide across my legs. Oh, it was just horrifying. That lack of control. Oh, I hated it. Had that. And then I had we went to, we had a church thing down in Florida, and we used to sneak off and do stuff. So we got an inner tube, a rope, and a concrete block. And we went out, and we were going down where the water breaks, where the tide breaks, so we could grab sand dollars and stuff. So, we shimmy down the rope, grab stuff. They keep us positioned pretty well, which is not safe, but, we're young, we're stupid. So shimmying down it one time. As I'm coming back up, man, right there. Now, it probably took a second or so. It's probably really quick. But in my mind, it is frozen like a horror scene. I saw a shark. I could see it clear as day as I was shimmying up that thing. The shark just swims over, looks at me for a minute and just goes on about its business. But that was horrifying. That giant freaking shark looking at me. He's like, oh, no. That rub against my legs, though. God, that was a big thing. I don't know what it was. It could have been any kind of fish out there, but God, with seeing a shark tear in the water, oh, it's just horrifying. Wheat toast, West Coast. Thank you for the 10 there. Hey, a little something for the thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that won't be fun. Dentists are horrifying as well. I hate that so bad. The cost. That is a heck of a racket right there. Astrid, thanks for 3 months. Thank you to whomever gifted me a membership on Sunday. Well, hey, that's awesome there. See, I love that. I love it. You get a membership here. You're happy with it. Somebody else, they help out the channel. That's what I love. I get all kinds of messages like that. So thank you, Astrid. Thank you for pointing that out too, because people see the impact of gifting memberships. Pickled Tink, thanks for the 15 months. Wow, 15 months. Time flies. That's right there. Also, Tug, are you still been ringing it? Yes. What does the doctor say about it? I have it 24/7, 365. I think they're going to pull the POTS thing, which POTS, okay, I'm going to say something that I feel like sometimes, like POTS is a very real diagnosis, but also I feel like sometimes they give up and they're just like, well, because what's the answer to it? What do they really tell you to handle it? They don't know what causes it. They can't really tell you, but they'll give you a few here and there, but they haven't given me any real answer for anything. It's been elimination. I eliminated my heart, which was good. Because I thought I was having a heart attack. But I don't have any answer. I went for autonomic testing. That's what I went for in December. It's the slowest freaking process. I was just like, man, if I had anything major wrong, Like if it were something that was life-threatening and going to end me in the next 3 months, I'd already been ended. That's the awful reality of the medical industry. So I'm not sure there. Just Jay, these are for your vertical problems. I know. Well, you know, maybe if I tied a few of those $5 super chats to my legs, maybe I could, if I made it thick enough, maybe it could keep me vertical. That's a good idea. Rio, baby, thanks for the 10 there. Had a 1970s Delta 88. Hey, that's awesome. Fit a bunch for yes. Those old cars, man, they're awesome. When I was a teenager, I'd gotten the it wasn't my first car, it was my second car. My first car had a terrible thing that happened to it, which I've told about before. But that second car, though, my friends, I always thought it was funny because they would skimp out on paying gas. You know, oh, we don't have any money. Never, right? But they always wanted rides. So what I would do, since this was an old police car, I would take that old seat, you know, the old you've seen the old police cars, like those big boxy ones. I would take the seat and I would prop it up just a little bit because you could always remove the seat for cleaning. So I'd prop it up and I'd set something under it. It would just lift it just a little bit. And what it would cause is it would cause people's loose change to fall out in the back seat. So all these people who would freeload and not pay at the end of the week, I'd have a bunch of change in the back seat and I'd have enough money to fill my gas tank up again, you know. But it would fit a lot of people. That thing was a tank, but boy, they drank gas. They were cool though. Those old cars are awesome. Ketchup, thanks for the 2 there. Hey, hope you're okay. I'm feeling bad. Well, thank you, Ketchup. Appreciate you too. You know, appreciate you wrangling that crazy guy as well. Thank you. Jack's mom, thanks for the 10 there. I didn't want to send something silly until you noted you were mostly okay, laughing about it first. Saw it on Facebook. Watched too many cartoons when I was a kid. It's for the driver. Well, I thought the birds thing was really funny. You know, I like that. And don't worry, you know, even if something is very serious, ultimately one day the end will come. You know, I'm there. Until then, I want to laugh at everything. It doesn't matter if it's horrifying or horrible, you know, unless somebody passes away. That's, you know, I wouldn't find the humor in that. But anything else, if it happens to me, it's okay. You laugh at anything. I mean, you laugh at anything anyway, but with anything, don't worry about like hurting my feelings anyway. You know, if it's something they were like, if I fell and I broke my, you know, it's going to be stupid. And if it's if you make fun of something and it's terrible, oh well. You know, at least we can laugh at it, right? So never feel like that either. I appreciated your pictures. I thought they were fun. Rio, baby, thanks for the 5. Yeah, Tom, Joe versus the volcano. Brain fog or cloud. Indeed. Joe versus the volcano. Man, I have not seen that in years, by the way. I had a friend that owned, I think his dad owned 5 movies, you know, between him. They had like Star Trek, Wrath of Khan. They had, you know, I can't remember all the movies. I have to think back, but one of the movies they had was Joe versus the volcano. I used to laugh at it all the time. I was like, yeah, if I were trapped, imagine only owning 5 movies in your entire life. That's all he had there. He was happy with 5. I wish I could feel that way. Happy with 5 movies. But one of them was Joe versus the volcano. We toast coast to coast. Thanks for the 12 months. Check out the avatar. Yeah, your avatar. I like the look there. I like the little I like the little face bandages. That's funny. That's perfect, dude. That's really funny. It's perfect. All right, let me check. Make sure I haven't missed anything. Oh, they're going to deliver my washer for sure. Or dryer. I said washer. They're delivering my dryer. It's only a dryer, not a washer, too. If I got both of them for $7, I think I would have been happy. But they're delivering it tomorrow afternoon. That'll be great. Cool. So they told me they would, but you never know. All right. Let me see. Is Shizzy up? Broadcasting. Let me see. I need to direct all you people to somebody. Let me look. This wasn't a long stream. Yep, there's Shizzy. This wasn't a terribly long stream. You know, it takes me a few to read the super chat. It took me like fucking an hour to read the super chats. No, it took me about, actually, I guess it took me about 40 minutes to read them, which is normal. But anyway, all right, folks. I'm going to let you go over to Shizzy. Appreciate you, folks. We should be over. Megan should be back tomorrow, as far as I'm aware. And remember, again, keeping the countdown for everything on this Saturday. Again, D Spills the Tea is going to have an amazing video. It will be, it'll be absolutely awesome to watch. So anyway, appreciate you, folks. We'll see you.